What's up everybody? Thanks for checking out this video. Today I'm going to be showing you how I created this image, going through the entire process from shooting to post-production and giving you some tips and tricks along the way if you want to try and do it yourself. Now this whole idea was inspired by a photographer, Stephen McMenemy, who runs an Instagram page called Combo Photo where he does a lot of these combinations of different random items and it produces some really cool images. So if you want some inspiration for these combo photos, definitely go and check out that page. Now I'm going to be shooting on the Sony a7 III with the 24-70 G Master lens, but you can shoot on whatever camera you have. You really just want to make sure that you have manual controls over all of your exposure so that these shots are going to blend really nicely. Now let's get to shooting. We have to get two separate shots for this combo photo. The first one's going to be a bowl of cereal with milk being poured into it, and the second one is going to be the Elmer's glue with glue coming out of the cap. I think the bowl of cereal is going to be the more challenging photo, so let's get that done first and get that out of the way, and then we can get the shot of the Elmer's glue. So let's get started. So my idea for this first shot is something similar to what's on the box here with the bowl. So the milk coming in and kind of splashing out with a bunch of cereal on it. With any food shoot, you want to waste as little amount of food as possible. Now one of the tricks for shooting things that are in a bowl like cereal is you can take some paper towels and rip off a couple pieces, crumple it up into a ball and put that into the bowl first. This is going to take up a lot of the space that you need to fill with cereal to get that mound on top like we want to have in our photo. So having this base is going to be a really great start, and then we just need that small layer of Fruit Loops on the top. I think we're about ready to pour the milk into the cereal. Just wanted to go over a couple quick camera settings before we start shooting. The first one is going to be the shutter speed. I have my shutter speed cranked super high. I'm at 1/1250th of a second, so super fast to really capture that motion of the milk being poured. The second one is my aperture. I'm stopped down a little bit. This lens can go to a 2.8, but I'm at about an f4. This is going to give me more depth of field to make sure that the entire cereal bowl is in focus. And then I'm going to be shooting a little bit wider than I normally would. This gives me a little bit more flexibility in post to move it around and line up these two images. It doesn't need to be a lot of milk. It just needs to be quick to get like the stream and then a splash. So do it and then stop right away. All right, ready?
Yep.
And 3, 2, 1, go.
I missed a bowl.
Yep, 3, 2, 1, go.
That was good.
So I think we had a couple really good shots where the milk goes right into the center and has a nice splash. So this is going to be great to be able to choose between all those different shots. All right, so this next shot should be pretty easy as well. All we need to do is take some Elmer's glue and then just get a nice steady stream coming out of the tip. Now, since I'm not going to be seeing the table and we're using the top half of this photo, I'm also just going to throw down some cardboard so I can just put the glue directly on that and then we can throw that out once this is all done. But yeah, this should be a pretty easy shot to get, so let's start shooting. Cool, so I think that's really all we need to do down here in the studio. Let's head up into the office and I'll show you how we combine both of these photos in post. All right, so getting onto the computer now, this process is pretty easy and you really only need a base level of Photoshop knowledge to be able to do this, but I'm gonna kind of walk you through step by step how I did it with this image. So I already went through and grabbed two of the images that I wanna use, so one of the Elmer's glue and one of the cereal bowl, and we're just gonna drag and drop both of those into a new Photoshop document. Now I shot in RAW on the Sony a7 III, so it's going to open up the RAW editor window if I need to change white balance or exposure, things like that. I'm not going to worry about it because I think the white balance came out really good on this image, and I'm going to be doing a little bit of color tweaking later on anyway. So we'll just leave this one alone, hit OK, and then we can go ahead and just scale it up to have it kind of fit this 4x5 document that we have. And then we're going to do the exact same thing with this Elmer's glue photo, so we'll just hit OK. Grab the corners here, drag that, and scale it up. Now before we hit OK on this one, what we can do is go over to the opacity and lower it on this top layer to 50%. This is going to let us see both of the images at the same time and we can start lining them up. Now I'm just going to rotate this top layer of the glue to kind of straighten that out and match it up a little bit more with the milk. Once those are pretty close to lined up, we can go over to the rectangular selection tool. We can grab that and select the top part that we want to keep. Now I'm going to cut it right in the middle of the glue and I'm going to change this later, but I want to show you what I was originally thinking with this image. So I'm just going to select that. We have a little bit of the glue coming out of the cap as well as the milk pouring into that. Go down to the bottom right and hit the mask. This is going to create a mask for that top layer and then we can turn that opacity back up to 100%. But if you look closely, you can tell that there's a pretty good difference between the sharpness of the glue and the sharpness of the milk. So what I'm actually going to do is crop this a little bit more and make a little mask that goes just to the edge of the bottle cap. And on this mask, we can just kind of paint this out, and that's looking pretty good. And now that we've chopped off right to the tip of the Elmer's glue, what we can do is go ahead and grab that layer, hit Command T to get the transform tool, and then we can kind of just play around with the scale and positioning of it. Now I'm going to make it a little bit bigger here so that tip will blend a little more, and then I'm just going to move it around. Zooming in, you can use your arrow tools to really fine tune where it's coming out of. Now there's not much else you have to do in here. I am actually going to correct the rotation to get this table flatter in the background, which means I have to move this bottle over a little bit. Yeah, right about there looks good. Now that's pretty much all we have to do for this image, but if you did need to have a little bit of a color adjustment to match, like say this was 2 oranges, then we need to get the oranges together, what you can do is go down to the adjustment layer, add on a hue saturation, grab this little tool right here, and you can grab that and drag it around. So this is obviously changing the saturation, and then we can go and change the hue if we wanted it to be a different color. Now you can see it's adjusting both of the clips. If we click this little button over here, it's going to be just the layer below that adjustment layer, which is going to be the top one, and now we can adjust that independently so we can really blend those 2 colors together. But since these are 2 separate colors, we don't really need to mess around with that, so I'm just going to delete that. And we can go up to File, and we're going to save as, and we're going to save this out as a TIFF, which saves it kind of in the raw format. So Glue and Fruit Loops TIFF, that sounds good. Let's save it. Now you can do this in Photoshop doing all of your color adjustments, but I like to bring it into Lightroom and do them there because I have presets and I just think the color processing is much easier in Lightroom. So let's go ahead and open that up. We can go over in the top left, add, we can find our thing. So Glue and Fruit Loops, review for import, add photo. And now we have that photo and we can start doing our color adjustments on this. So right away, I like to bring down the highlights and bring up the shadows a little bit, kind of flatten out the blacks, flatten out the whites a little bit, bring up those contrasts. White balance, again, I think is pretty solid, so I'm not really gonna mess around with that. Maybe bring up vibrance a little bit to get the Fruit Loops to pop. And this is really where I'm gonna play with a lot of the colors, is in this color mixer here, using the hue, saturation, and color. So I always like to bring my blues a little bit more towards the aqua, kind of giving them a little bit of a green look. As you can see, it's changing the Elmer's glue logo up there. Changing the aqua, really just playing around with it and getting it to look the way that I want it to. We also go in here and play around with the individual color saturations, and I really like to bring up the saturation, especially for something like this that's supposed to be a little more colorful. So really just playing around with this and getting it to look the way I want to, adding in a little bit of texture, a little bit of clarity. Let's go ahead and grab the purple hue, which is this ring here, and try and change that a little more towards blue. So there's our before, and there's our after. I also might go in here and just do a little tighter crop on it, get it to fill a little more of the frame. And this is really where you can put your style and spin on it and make it look the way you want it to. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you go out and try this on your own, make sure to tag me on Instagram. I'd love to check out and see what you guys are doing. If you have any questions, make sure to leave those in the comments. Don't forget that like button, subscribe for new videos every single week, and I'll see you in the next one.